with from the very beginning, from the very beginning of it all. How did you get into product management? What was day one? What was the journey like? How did it all start for every one of us called? Yeah, for all our panelists. Yami, do you want to get us started?
Okay. Um, yeah, so hi again, everyone. So how I
How
got
did you?
into product. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so how I got into product management. Let me see, where do I start from? Okay, so I think maybe I'll just start from what led me into tech first, right? Into like the tech space. So I know that by the time I was leaving school, that's university, I wanted to do something in like the media space, right? That was something that I was very keen on and looking forward to doing. Somewhere along the line, I think it was around then that, social media, the old digital media thing really started to like pick up. So I was like, okay, maybe instead of going traditional media, I can explore digital media. And so I started some sort of like internship with someone who was running like a social media management, business, and just working with like other businesses to leverage digital tools for like their product and services and whatnot. So I did that for a bit, and then I was going to leave that for a while. And while leaving, I was like, what am I going to do? Right. So I was like, okay, I'll start blogging, just sharing my thoughts and whatnot. But of course, I could not afford anybody building a blog or whatever for me. So I had to like figure it out by myself. And then that took me down like a path of um interacting with WordPress, trying to figure out, how things should work. From building a blog for myself, I started building like blogs and websites on WordPress at the time for other people. And I remember that there were some businesses that I would like interface with, and then something that typically should take like maybe a week or 2 weeks, like what I discussed. 1 month, we don't know where we are going. So I started seeing that there was some sort of gap between like what people want and what the eventual like outcome should be. And so to make my life easy, right? I started digging into at that time it was more like product design, product strategy. That was something that people would talk about, or even design strategy. I don't think product management was like a word really. So I was like, okay, I need to understand this strategy part, right? So I can help people figure out what do we want to do, why do we want to do it, yada yada yada. From that, I started taking courses in like product design. Eventually, I got into Cowrywise, the customer experience team. And 1 year, I think about 1 year or so into my time at Cowrywise. So actually, from when I joined Cowrywise, right, I think given like my background and whatnot, so part of the conversation was I'll be in the CX team, but I'll also get to work closely with like the engineering team. So I already had some sort of interaction with the engineering team from early on. Yeah, long story short, I was in CX, and eventually I pivoted fully into product, and I was the first product manager, or I am the first product manager that Carrywise had. Yeah. So it was crazy. There was nobody to necessarily like say, okay, how do you even do this product? How do you know that you're doing what you should do? Right? And you're doing it well. So it was a lot of trying to figure things out. Thankfully, I would say that my colleagues were really supportive, right? Engineers, my boss, everybody really. So yeah, that's how I got into products.
That's a very beautiful and unique experience. Thank you very much for sharing that,
Thanks.
Yami. So that's from being the first PM at Carrywise to now being the product leader at Carrywise. What a beautiful journey. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Omojo, over to you. Uh, how did it all start?
All right. Really interesting journey there for Yami, I will say. And somehow we've known over the years. And I mean, I really admire your work, and I'm very happy to hear your story. Okay, so for me, first I'll say thank you for having me here. I think I said that earlier. And in talking about my journey into product management, one thing I would say is that it wasn't planned like at all. It happened serendipitously. So I studied chemical engineering at the university. of Port Harcourt. So of course, it was normal for me to have my, eyes cut out specifically for the oil and gas industry. I mean, I applied to Schlumberger, to Total, to Chevron, and all of those. In fact, my colleagues then, if you wanted the latest information on the engineering company hiring, you could contact me. But then I think the only one that really moved forward at the time was Schlumberger, where I really got to the next level. We did some interview, and that was when the whole oil, slump in oil and gas price came in. And let's just say I never got a call back. And then my mom went somewhere and met someone who studied chemistry. I was working in the bank. And then she inquired, oh, can someone with chemical engineering also work at the bank? They said yes. She came home, she told me, from me working in a bank, I'm an engineer. What does an engineer have to do with working in a bank? But then, I mean, I became open. I sent my CV in and it landed in GT Bank. Fun fact, the folks who interviewed me at GT Bank studied engineering, all of them. I'm like, what's going on? The reality hadn't really hit back then. And I'll just say I got called for the interview, and interestingly, I got an offer. And when I thought of banking at the time, I saw people in the teller. I'm like, what am I going to do there as an, engineering student? Well, coincidentally, I was posted to e-payments. E-payments is electronic payments of GT Bank, where my group head, Digio Kutonade, he studied chemical engineering as well from the University of Lagos. Some team lead studied mechanical engineering. I'm like, what's going on here? And funny enough, that was, what's really changed it for me. When I got into the bank, the first assignment my group head gave me was, let's do an assignment on how to skin a cat. We're wondering how to skin a cat with banking. What kind of assignment is this? But by the time we read more, how to skin a cat simply means there are several ways to do it. And what it was telling us is that let nobody push you into the status quo. You should question how things are done. You should challenge how things are done. You should propose new ways of doing things. And for me, that was like an ignition to my fire. And I was like, wow, let me see how it goes. I'm kind of loving it here. And so my role really started as operations for the e-payment products. So 737, anything electronic mobile banking, when you do anything in that line and there are issues, I'm the person who responds to you. So from getting customers' complaints, I'm able to make proposal or make recommendations to the product team to say, okay, this is what you need to do. Then I started getting interested in data. I would analyze some complaints, bring up the top ones and share. And so after 3 years, there was an opportunity in the product team. And my boss then had asked me to transition into the product team. So spending time in customer support, which is why I recommend people who are in customer service who want to transition. I feel like you have developed deep sense of empathy in understanding maybe reasons behind unhappy customers, failed transactions, and all of that. So that was actually how I got into product management. And then there were some other courses I had done even there at the bank with IDEO on design thinking. We had to solve real problems for people. And that chance on human-centered design just really, really helped deepened my experience. And I mean, from there, it was barely a year when I got into products before I, got headhunted to move to what I call it, OPE. But this was my journey. It was totally serendipitous. I just was open-minded. And what I saw in GT Bank really surprised me. It's ignited the fire in me. So having the right people, being open-minded, and yeah, that was how I hit it off the ground from the product operations into the product management role. So I think back even saying it here, It really brings a lot of memories, and I'm just happy to be able to share. And I'm happy that I went on this path. It's been so rewarding and fulfilling for me as a person.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing that, Omojo. So two things I'm seeing. I'm seeing something now. I'm seeing a lot of design, user-centered design, cutting across both PMs and a lot of starting with customer support, and all of that. So that's really beautiful. Now to promise, is it the same for you, or is there a twist to the story? How did it go for you?
Yeah, hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so surprisingly, just like them, yeah, I also started from customer service. Um, After school, I wanted to hustle. Like I came to Lagos. I needed something to do. I studied human physiology, so I mean, Nigeria, we're meant to be working in research labs and stuff, and we don't have a lot here. And even working in the hospital means that, oh, you have to like transition into a doctor or something like that. But I knew that I had to hustle, right? So I was really open-minded, as Omo just said, to anything at that time. And there was an opportunity for customer service at Number then, formerly Kudi. So I came in doing my customer service stuff. And if you've worked in customer service, you know how stressful and painful that role is, because you can't, most times you're not like really equipped with the, like say, the facilities to render the solution. So you're just telling, oh, please calm down, we'll get back to you. And then you're escalating to like maybe the engineers or who can solve the problem, right? So you're basically just let's say powerless, and you are the one taking all the hits. So imagine getting thousands of people. Now at least payment is even easier. Then you make a transfer and it takes like 30 minutes, takes like days before it gets to the customer. So you hear people complaining about, oh, I sent money to the hospital and the hospital have not received it and this person is dying. And you're taking all that in and you can't just like solve the problem. So and for me it was just very annoying to be in that position where you couldn't do anything. Then there was a particular day that we had a lot of issues, and I had to go and meet the engineer. Like, what are people doing that we cannot do? Like, let me even see what people are doing. And by the time I opened their laptop or I checked their laptop, they're just like pressing something to retry something or reprocess something. I'm like, so this is what people are doing, and because of course they have other responsibilities, those support issues they don't like sort of prioritize them, or even if they prioritize them, there are a lot of them, so it's taking time away from their own work, right? So by the time I saw what the guy was doing, I'm like, this thing can you can put this in on my laptop and I can just press this button as well, right? And he found it funny, but I kind of pushed for it, and we had to like meet some other people that kind of approved that. So they set up my laptop to do that. So at that point, I was like the only person in my team managing that reprocessing of transactions, because again, that's also something that is quite delicate. So if you do it twice, for instance, you're disbursing money twice and all of that. So I was the only person doing that within the team. Now, I didn't know this was leading to something, but I was that person. So if I'm not around, or I had to be around, or I had to take on that new responsibility of handling transactions that maybe were stuck or something. So I was doing that, and I remember going for NYSC, and that special thing I was doing got taken away from me. And I'm like, okay, now I'm back to square one, just doing calls. What can I do differently? And I didn't know when I was looking at my career trajectory, then it was a case of, okay, what's the highest I can be in customer service? Okay, head of customer support. Then I didn't even know there was anything like product like then, because in my company then, I don't think we had like a product team per se. We had a designer, we had engineers, but we didn't have like a product manager, if I remember clearly. So I didn't really know that there was anything like that. But I thought to myself that, okay, maybe highest, I'll build my own intercom or something. And it wasn't still clear. It was just still kind of hazy. And but I knew that I needed to sort of differentiate myself somehow, and I needed to take on more responsibility somehow. And again, there are always problems. There was another problem around wallet funding, for instance. Before Monify became a thing, or virtual bank accounts became a thing, we used to like manually fund wallets and all of that. So there was a particular person handling that, not within my team. And maybe if maybe during the weekend, the person is not around, for instance, it's going to take days for customers to be serviced, and it became an issue again. So I was like, okay, if you're doing this thing, why can't I do it, right? So that we can move faster with this whole problem. Somehow, I found myself talking to this person and sort of negotiating my way and building that kind of trust. And the person handed that to me. Again, that was also a very extremely delicate one because anybody can put in 100 million and run away with the money. So I had already built that kind of, let's say, relationship and trust within the company that they could entrust me with such in the first place. So I was doing that. That became my new thing now. And I think they were doing an auditing thing in my company then. And it then showed that the extra responsibility we're taking on was already kind of separating myself and the other person that took in the other responsibility then. So by the time they were doing the auditing, it was not a case of these people can, or these two people can't do just customer service anymore. We need to like separate them. And then they created like product ownership role. So we took on that whole responsibility of maybe wallets, services, or transfers and all of that. Again, it wasn't a product management thing. So by the time we became product owners, we are the one that pioneered that role in the company, if I remember. By the time we took on that responsibility, people started talking about product management, that just do a course. I still didn't know what it was. So I just went to Google it. I did some courses then, and I remember, I'll never forget, I think during at lunch, I remember talking to my CTO because the CTO was kind of doubling as the product person then. So I remember talking to the CTO and saying that, I just learned product management. Let me help you write a PRD for something, any of your product that you have or something. And he did give me something to work on. So I wrote the PRD for that. And I was just pretty much following up with my learnings and everything with him and also doing my own work. And apparently when when there was an open position, right, it was meant to be me and somebody. I didn't know about this until later. They were kind of debating who they were going to give the position to for product management, and they ended up um, giving me the role, right? So that was pretty much how it's all happened. Yeah, I didn't know that there was something like that that existed, and I pretty much just fell into it when the opportunity came. But for me, I think one thing that really stood out was my drive to differentiate myself and take initiative, right? I think we're going to discuss more about that
Yeah.
as we go on because you can't be doing the same your normal duties and expect growth, right? You need to find ways to differentiate yourself. You need to find ways to take initiatives and solve problems. So that's pretty much how I got here. And after number, I knew that I didn't want to I knew that as a PM, your work is not complete if you've not built something from 0 to 100, right? Because when I was a PM there at Number, it was a case of I'm already managing something that someone had started, right? So I was like, I needed a better challenge. So after a while, like maybe a year or so, I had to like go somewhere where I had to start from scratch. And yeah, that was pretty much it for me.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much, Promise, for that story. All beautiful stories, and I was saying it in the chat already that something that is common is you all started with like this enthusiasm of helping customers solve the problems they have with the product. And I think that is what is common as a base to all your journey. So that's really great. And you're already dropping a lot of nuggets, Promise, and that would take us that would perfectly segue us into the next question we have, which is like, how would you define the biggest difference? What do you think is that biggest difference? I think you were already touching on it a bit between the mid-level PM and the senior PM, because that's what we're here to talk about. How do you transition into that senior product role? You are already a product manager. How do you transition? So what do you think is the biggest difference that differentiates that mid-level PM to someone who is a senior PM or shows the qualities of being a senior PM? Promise you can start, then we go around.
All right. So I think the first thing is just taking more responsibility, first of all, right? As I said, when I was leaving Number, I was still a mid-level PM. Even when I got to the new company, I was still a mid-level PM, but I knew that I wanted to start something from scratch because product management is one of those jobs or roles that require you to have is your experience that speak for you. No matter the courses you've done, whether you do 100, if you've not had some level of experience, you cannot grow basically. So I knew that I needed to challenge myself to start from scratch and get to a particular level, right? Or build like a product from 0 to 100. And that's what I essentially did. And at a point within that company, I got promoted to a senior PM. So being able to take on more responsibility, being able to take on more challenges, very, very, very important. Again, as I said, you can't be doing your normal thing and expecting growth, right? The second thing would be taking initiative. Now, you may say that, oh, there are no challenges in my company to take. Sometimes your lead may not be the one to come and tell you that, oh, there's this new challenge for you to take. You have to make that move to go and meet, you have to find the problem and solve it. And the crazy thing is that there's always a problem to solve. That's just the truth. There's always, like, if you really want to do it, there's always something to solve. So taking that initiative to solve problems, taking that initiative to maybe guide other PMs within your team, right? Also go a long way. And that's what something I personally look out for when I'm looking at promoting someone within my team. I have to see areas that I didn't have to tell you something and you've taken the initiative to say, oh, let me do this. It could be something as simple as peer review, right? And you're a mid-level, you're reviewing for other people and just dropping your feedback within the team. That has taken a lot of work from my hand and you don't even know it, but you are doing that on your own. So those are the things that I look out for, and I advise mid-level PMs that you have to take the initiative to do things without being directed. That's the way I know that I can entrust you with responsibilities without the fear that you will drop the ball. And even when you drop the ball, I can still trust the judgment because I've seen you take initiative to do things and solve them on your own. So those are the key things I would advise, or I would say that a mid-level PM have to have: taking initiative, being open to taking more responsibilities and challenges. Those are the two main things.
Thank you very much. Fantastic. Omojo, Yarmi, anyone? Go ahead.
All right. So I think for me, just in addition to what Promise has said, I think that for anyone who is starting in product management, at the very baseline, right, is that ability to get things done. So whether you're just starting, where as you grow, that ability to actually execute, and that's like minimum requirements, right? But or if you're considering like going into more senior roles, then it means that you will need to move from just being at that position where you're told we need to do X and you go and get X done, to being the person that can spot that we need to do X, right? So it's where you are at a position where you can look at, okay, these are the goals that the company has. How do we trickle this down into what I can be responsible for, right? You're not just thinking about, oh, I need to get this done, and you do it and you do the next thing and the next thing. So when I started in product management, I think I would work on products and not even think about what does success look like. Like, I'm just going to say, okay, we need to do this, we'll do it, and then move on to the next thing. But as I grew in my role, I realized that, wait, I need to even understand this thing I did, is it working? Right. And so there's that part where you now really need to think about what is success, right? Is this thing actually working? There's the part where you need to also have a vision, like have an understanding for, or we're starting here, but this is like ultimately where we're trying to get to. And these steps that we're taking, is it getting us there? Right. So you're not just at the position where you've been told to execute on this, and you just go and do that, but you're always thinking, yes, this is like the little portion that I might have now, but how does this fit into the bigger picture, right? How does this fit into maybe the goal that my product lead has, or maybe the goal that the organization has, depending on the structure of the company that you're in. So I would say that it becomes even more important to be business minded, right? As you grow in your role as a product manager, or if you are looking for that growth opportunity, because it's not just about delivering on something, but it's about delivering on the right thing and being able to also deliver well on that particular thing that you're working on. Yeah.
All right, so I'll just go next. Oh, sorry, Favor, you saying something? All
Go
right.
ahead, please,
I
Omojo.
mean, Promise and Yami has spoken, and I mean, it's exactly everything they said. Scope and ownership. So for someone in a mid-level position, your scope may not be as much as someone who is a senior. And depending on the kind of industry or company you are, the measure for moving, may be different. So when I was in Microsoft, I saw something else. You have to behave like you're a senior PM before you get that promotion. I don't know if you get, which is exactly what they've said. You have to act in your scope and in your ownership. So a difference, even for other industries, would be that a mid-level would have strong execution. Sometimes, like Yami said, very focused on the outputs. I want to do this, oh, let's get it done. I want to do this, let's get this done. But as you move or prepare, because if you're mid-level, you have to start acting senior to actually get the senior role. And what does this really mean? So someone who is senior is very concerned about the outcome, like they said. Like Yanni clearly said, like, what does this mean? How does doing this translate or fit into the overall goal? How does it move the needle of what this company is about, going forward? Another thing is stakeholder management, you're able to manage the stakeholders that you work with. Like when I see that, like like Promise said, you don't have to piggyback for everything, like come ask for everything. You're able to take ownership, you're able to manage the stakeholders. It prepares you for senior role. Promise also mentioned your ability to help others. Helping others means you're not just focused on your core responsibility. I mean, helping others mean like doing a peer review for others, when others raise blockers and you know what can help them move forward, you're able to do so. And commercial thinking, they both said so. So there's really nothing more to add. Like commercial thinking, how does this thing that I'm working on helps the bottom line? Or what can we do to help the bottom line? I have a very recent example. I joined a company, they have a very close relationship with a particular company so I have a company who wants to integrate someone's API, but the people who are integrating their APIs for are huge. They're like big people in the industry, but they don't have enough developers. If you want to integrate to their service, for example, it can take you a long time because there are no people to give you support, right? And so I'm like, why can't we made a proposal to say, make us your preferred aggregator, which means other companies who want to integrate to you should come and integrate through me because I have the resources, I have the developers, I have I have the bandwidth to be able to do so. And since we have this very close partnership, I think we can do that. I'm a product manager. I could have just been very concerned about, oh, let's get the APIs integrated and move on. But thinking strategically about the bottom line to me says, oh, even though we integrate, how much are we really going to make from this integration? I've seen the downside of this partner we're integrating with, they don't have enough. Can I make this suggestion to do so? I suggested it in a meeting that we had. It was a bit turned down, but they came back around. And what happened today is that we are like the sole aggregators of those companies. And I'll tell you that the bottom line from that approach really has been more than what we would have gotten just going in there. What does the product manager, have to do with this? I'm not saying this to blow my trumpet, but I'm saying this to ignite something in someone who is listening to me, that you have to be very concerned about creating value. For a senior role, it could be commercial thinking. But one thing is clear, you have to increase your scope. You have to act like senior to actually be handed that senior level role. So if you've just been, oh, what do I have to do? You can now start, if you've just been asking, what do I do? Okay, we've deployed this product to production. Now move into what does deploying this product to production, what does it do for our customers? If you've not been involved in what prioritization mean, like I'll start getting involved. What does prioritization mean? My simplest or the most simple example I've heard everywhere, which I've stuck to, is that prioritization is what should we be doing now? What should we do later? So when you see all problems, how can you rank it? How can you solve for it? I have also said that be helpful towards, others. Review your co-PMs, will I say PRDs, like Promise said, have a meeting with your customer support. What are the problems that we are seeing that we don't know? Be very focused on the industry. What's the industry saying today? What is new? You should have, you should be subscribed to Tech Point, Tech Cabal, Tech Crunch, and all of the news that are happening. And the game is even different now with the likes of AI tools and prototyping tools. How do you act senior? How can we take it forward? Before you say, oh, I suggest we do this, I suggest we do that. Now you can even make it more visual. So I feel that in the time that we are today, there are clear paths to, okay, I think let me focus on the question, which is just, how do you differentiate mid-level to senior? So I'll just stay on that note. I've righted on everything promised, and Yami said, I've said the outcome focused, stakeholder management, commercial thinking, and yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all our panelists, Omojo, Yarmi, and Promise. I mean, a lot of insights. For me, the way I put it down and summarize is if you want it, you have to act like it. Act like it to get it, basically. Get. And to our audience, if you guys have if you have any question as we're going through the session, there are a lot of chats coming in, so I might miss it. But if you put it on the Slido poll, we can always see it and address it before the end of the session today. So if any question pops into your mind as we're having those discussions, you can drop it on the Slido poll. We'll address it before the end of the call. And the next question we have, which is also building upon what you've just said, is just one thing. What is I know you can say, let's say top three skills that you say you look for when you are hiring. As senior product managers, you are always involved in hiring process of people into the product team in one way or the other. So what is maybe let's say top three skills you're looking for in your PM, and these things are non-negotiable. If I don't find this in a PM, that person is not joining my team. What are the top three things that you're looking for? Who'd like to start us on that?
Maybe I can start on that. So for me, the first thing would be product thinking. I mean, at the core of it, we're still trying to hire for someone that knows product and know what they're doing, right? So yeah, to be product thinking, and that covers how you think about your customers, how you think about how you even go about building products, right? You don't just jump in and say, oh, I want to build this thing, right? Do you do research? Do you speak to your customers? Do you then we're talking about designing as well. I tend to see a lot of people leaving, a lot of PMs of late, leaving design to just the designers, or thinking that design is about the pictures or the colors, right? It's more than that. So you have to be someone that is thinking about the functionality. How do customers feel when they open this app or when they use this thing that you're building, right? So product thinking, very, very important, covers how you build products, how you think about what the product is going to do for your users at the end of the day. Then the other thing would be business outcome ownership. For us at Quora, that's a skill that we actually review ourselves by every quarter. Now, business outcome ownership is just you, as Yami has said, sorry, you being able to think about what's this thing that I'm doing, how does it translate to the business goal or the business vision at the end of the day. And this is for both mid-level and senior, right? We don't leave it to just senior people, because mid-level people in the next 1-2 years, they're asking for promotion, right? So you need to start thinking about that. So business outcome ownership is very, very important, right? And again, this is something that people tend to miss, right? It could be the filter that you're implementing. That filter translates to a business goal at the end of the day. Do you understand how that impacts the business? So you need to be able to understand how every single thing you do, every single time that you're investing in something, how it translates to the business goal at the end of the day. That's something that you must have before we hire you. And then the last would be maybe fluency with data, right? I'm kind of torn between that and stakeholders management. Fluency with data is very important in the sense that you are able to outline what the metric for success is, what success looks like, right? You're building something. Why are you building it? Like, what is going to be the expected outcome of this thing at the end of the day, right? We don't just want people building stuff for building sake. Okay, what is this thing meant to solve, and how do you measure it? Right? And if you measure it, what's the impact that's meant to make for your customers and for your business, right? Do you know the tools that can be used? Again, those kind of questions, when you're asking them during the interview, people just tell you, oh, mixed panel, oh, Tableau. Very easy to mention until you bring them in. So basically, what I want to hear at that point is, how are you thinking of these metrics in the first place, right? You outlined, okay, acquisition, okay, how does that, or monthly active users, because they like mentioning that one very well. So how does this translate to what you're building, right? Why is this important? How does this affect the business? How does this affect your customer, right? And just really understanding the importance of data and the importance of having those insights and being able to translate it. Having the insight is one thing, being able to translate it and make sense of it is also extremely important. So that's another skill that I particularly look out for, and you should have as a senior or mid-level PM coming to, let's say, Cora, for example. I just want to add one more. The last one is stakeholders management. Now, stakeholders management, I'm going to sort of merge them into, or I'm going to translate it into generally being able to influence people, because that's essentially what it means, being able to like influence people to being able to align and influence people and collaborate as a whole, right? So we're checking how you interact during the interview. We're checking how you solve problems, how you even select stakeholders, right? You're building something. How do you know which stakeholders to select? Because most times when you say stakeholders management, people just feel like, oh, it's interacting or having meetings, right? It starts from how are you even deciding what stakeholders to involve in that conversation, right? You're building something that have to do with payments. Are you involving the legal team? Are you involving people in data privacy? Are you involving customer success? People tend to leave all these people, all these teams aside, and maybe they want to focus on upper management, because whenever you say stakeholders management, people are always thinking about, oh, how do I convince the CEO that I want to build this? But it's more than that. It's about bringing the people that really, really affect what you, or are going to be affected by what you're building, into the conversation from the early stages. So it's not just informing your CEO, right? So I also check out for um that skill when we're hiring, right? Asking them, okay, this thing you built, how were you able to select your stakeholders, right? What decisions did they make, or how did they influence your decision in how this product turned out? So that's another thing that is very, very, very important. And to be honest, that's one, if you sort of miss it as a senior PM, yeah, you may not come into that company, because it's like you are too old in this experience for you not to know what stakeholders to select, or for you not to be involving the right people, because it really, really impacts everything at the end of the day. You may think it doesn't impact until when you build something and you see that, oh, this person's input was not involved, and then maybe you have to go back and restructure, or you have to go back and start rethinking the whole thing, thereby taking time to value for your customers and for the business. So that's a very, very crucial skill that a senior PM has to have. And of course, as a mid-level, that's something that you need to start learning effectively, so that by the time you get to a senior PM role, you're able to know and identify the stakeholders to involve. You're able to engage them, and you're able to even predict the response to what they want to say before they say it, right? When we go into these meetings, I always tell my PMs, you have to be able to predict what this compliance person will say. So you have to have your answers ready, because you can't come to, if you're working in payments, right? You know that compliance are always ready to push back. So you have to have all the things that compliance person would most likely ask for and have it ready to give them back, right? Basically, that's you being able to manage them and manage their expectations, right? So I'm just going to outline the four again. The first being product thinking, because as a whole product management, you have to have product thinking. The second being business outcome ownership, being able to understand how everything you do translates into the business goal at the end of the day. The third being fluency with data, right? Being able to identify metrics for success, being able to translate them, being able to select the instruments to even get those insights. And the third being stakeholders management. So yeah.
Thank you, Promise. Yeah. Omojo, Yarmi.
Okay. Promise as is the forerunner. She has gone ahead of us and said almost everything. So let me see if I can say what she's not said. Um, I would look forward to someone who can handle things end to end. Let's say a follow through process and someone who loves the product. So follow through is being able to articulate what does this product or building this entail from end to end. And following through means that at each stage, in the conception stage, in the definition stage, in the design stage, in the implementation stage, preparing for launch stage, you're able to follow through end to end. And that's really what building products entails. To get to the final destination, it's to pass through different processes. You don't just say, oh, I've done the PRD or I've defined what this is and hands off. You need a follow through ability. And one of the good things about PMing is that you see things start and you see things get launched. There's a joy that comes with that follow through. So you should be able to follow things through from end to end. Okay, what has not been spoken about? Communication, both verbal and written. You should be able to communicate your idea, and there are different ways of even communicating. You can make it visual, you can, you can make it visual and all of that. Another thing, you can make a visual, you can have it written, you can do the process flow, you can get a prototype, you can, so verbally and written, you should be able to communicate. You should have empathy and love for the users, because at the end of the day, it will not be like, oh, I've done my part, or I don't know what the developers are doing. Our love for the user, our empathy for who we are building for, helps us, sit up, okay, what's going on? How can we move this needle forward? Can we brainstorm together? Can we solve this? You get feedback from the users. The empathy for the users is also make you say, okay, before I launch this product, should we test it? Should we go to beta? Should we go directly live? And should we do a staggered rollout and all of those? Please, empathy and love for the users. Another thing I'd like to add is I had it here. Okay, so I've talked about communication, I've talked about empathy, I've talked about, I also like some technical um, skills, especially when the role is technical. So someone who is doing a cross-border payment would need to integrate with different partners. You have different partners, different corridors that you need an integration. So when that kind of requirement falls to the table of a senior PM, you should be able to take, you should be able to read, understand some technical requirements that a partner expects for you to integrate to and be able to translate them into what your developers can work on. So this includes the ability to test APIs. These are not too many skills. If you work in a company that has to do with integration, you're a PM who has not understood maybe how to test API and all of that, there are ways to do that. You can have a sit down with a technical person that you work with. Oh, can you even show me this thing? How can we test this thing? Because sometimes it reduces your time to execution. So a follow through, being able to get involved end to end, being able to communicate verbally, written, being able to being able to empathize with the user. And if you're working in industries that has to do with APIs and all of that, you may be like a technology company or an infrastructure company, a platform companies that are heavily dependent on APIs, and you have a lot of those. Being able to have that technical fluency in moving forward. I think I should add the last one is curiosity, ability to ask questions. Not every one of us know, you don't know everything. Like you didn't fall from the sky as a senior PM or a mid-level PM. You must ask questions. And that for me, like I talked about something from the beginning, you must ask questions. They say someone that does not ask questions, that I can't remember the adage. Oh, sorry, what does this mean? Oh, you mentioned this. What does this mean? From curiosity, we ask questions. From curiosity, we look at data to find patterns. From curiosity, we get involved in research, market research, user research to find burning answers. Don't let any question go unanswered. So if you have some questions, you can write it down, find the best person to meet, find the best way to do that research and get answers to those questions. So these are the things that I would add to what Promise has said. Thank you.
Yami, I don't know, Yami, do you have anything to add? Like a lot has been said already.
I know, right? Maybe I'll just emphasize like two things. I don't think I'll be saying anything new. They've
Okay.
covered all the bases. But I think for me, one major theme is in terms of collaboration and I guess stakeholder management. And how I think about it is I know that, or I feel like one misinterpretation that people tend to have about the product manager's role is like you are the head and tail of everything. Like you must be the one that comes up with the idea. It's only your ideas that will fly. It's what you say that will go. All of that stuff. And in reality, that's not it, right? Where you really get to excel, or how you really get to excel as a product manager, is realizing that what you're pretty much doing is trying to pull from everybody to achieve the best goal. And they don't answer to you. So you have to find a way to sort of build relationships with these people in order to ultimately achieve what needs to be achieved. So one thing I typically pay attention to is just how well you're able to collaborate with people. Are you the product manager that engineers are running away from, or that designers don't want to be in the same room with you? So just things like that. How well do you actually work with people, whether legal, whether compliance, any team? How well are you able to work with everyone and just pull out the best from every person to actually achieve the goal that you're looking to achieve? And communication is also a big one, because a huge chunk of your job would also be that you're communicating, right? So do you know how to get your message across? Do you know how to let people understand what it is that needs to be done and why it needs to be done? Right? There'll be times where you even need to play what's the word now? The person that's like managing the emotions of everyone in the team, right? So like when maybe design and engineering is not, for some reason they are clashing. Design is like, it should be like this, engineering is saying no. So at some point you need to be the person that steps in, right? So just knowing how to communicate, how to say things that can like help just make sure that the team is going together, because you would work on projects sometimes that maybe because it's a really big project and it's taking a long time, you find that at some point people's energy would start to wane, or you'll start seeing some kind of friction, right, that will come up, and you need to be able to spot that. You need to be able to figure out like how to just motivate the team to to keep going, right? So yeah, I think I will just mention some of that just to like highlight what they've already said.
Yeah, thank you so much. Guys, if you guys, I'm sure if you guys can take all these things about, I think there's about 8 things that has mentioned, product thinking, business outcome ownership, you'll be, because it's a non-negotiable. If you have these things, I think you guys will get hired ASAP. So make sure to jot those things down, start working on them. And perfect way segue to talk about Treford's product management accelerator program. We have carefully thought about most of these things and we're addressing it in our curriculum. A couple of our facilitators, our panelists here today, have seen it and they'll also be facilitating the session, but I'll talk about that much later. Now we'll be going into I will asking us questions just like one-on-one, not general. Um, then also I see a couple of us already asking questions on Slido. So please, if you still like to ask questions on Slido, like you want to ask like a question, you can always drop it on Slido. We'll be happy to answer. So I'll start with Yami. I'll start with Yami. So Yami, for you, what's your take on how important mentorship is into going to the senior role? Like, so how important is mentorship for a mid-level PM to unlock that new senior role?
This is an interesting question. So I say interesting because um personally, right, mentorship for me has not looked like I had somebody that I can go and meet and say I'm dealing with this. So I mentioned how I started like product management function in Wise, which means that there was nobody for me to say, oh, this is the problem I'm currently facing. How do I navigate this? What do I do? All of that. But I had to, of course, find ways to still help me move forward whenever I find like myself in difficult positions. So one of the things I would say, or some of the things like I think that work for me, would be one, just leveraging the people that exist around me. So the very first PRD I wrote, right, it was someone in my engineering team that actually helped me with it. And I would have been stressing my head if I was thinking, oh, this is something that I have to do by myself. I have to figure it all out myself. Is in engineering. What can you possibly know? But I think just realizing that there are skills in different people that you can actually leverage, right? You can reach out to people and pick things from people. And I'm saying that especially if it looks like your journey might not be the typical journey for that you would maybe see with other people. So for me, it was looking at, okay, who currently does something similar to what I'm trying to do? What can I learn from this person? What can I learn from the next person, right? And just leveraging that. So that's one. The other thing, of course, is you cannot do away with taking courses, right? Or participating in certain boot camps or programs like that. So those were some of the things I did. And just seeing, oh, what is this PM in this other space doing, right? What are people doing in their space? What is the journey like for them? And then learning from that and trying to figure out how to bring it into my own context. So I'm also a firm believer of there are principles, and then there's the way that you would apply that principle within your own context and within your culture. So I'm not just going to take something that I read somewhere and say it must happen verbatim in my own context. I need to understand who are the kind of people that I'm working with, and then how do I still distill this down. So yeah, I would say leverage people around you, engage people, ask questions. I think it was Omojo that I was talking about, being curious and just asking questions, right? So,
Yeah.
for example, it could be as simple as reaching out to someone in data and saying, "Oh, I want to, improve this part of my skills," and just asking them to like teach you some basic things that you can do. And what I have found is people are actually always ready to help you. Maybe because in some way, it reduces their workload too, right? Like if you don't have to be telling the data person, help me with this, help me with this. If they can just show you how to do it, right? It eases their own workload for them as well. So they're actually always eager to help, right? So yeah, just leverage people. One thing I do, so I have like a list of, these are different areas that I think as a product manager, I need to excel. And then I will look at that list and say, where do I think I'm currently, doing well at? What's something I feel like maybe I have a good grasp of, and what's something that I think I need to get better at, right? And when I identify things like that, then the next step for me is usually thinking around who can I speak with that, I could maybe learn one or two things from them on this, or what book can I read, that would help me with this, or do I need to take a course? Do I need to maybe even speak with like my HR team to say, oh, I need to get access to taking a class on XYZ, right? So those would be some of the ways that I have explored. By all means, if you also find a product manager that you can actually engage with, right, I would say go for that. My own journey didn't start out that way, but I had to look around me and say, who are people that have some of these skills, right, that I can leverage. There are times when it's maybe even my siblings that I'm reaching out to, because I know that when it comes to maybe dealing with numbers, it's something that they're better at than I am at. So if I'm struggling with something around that, I will reach out to them to say, oh, I need your help here. Help me with it. So sometimes it might not be that you find one person that can give you all the answers that you need. It could be looking around you and saying, what can I pick from A? What can I pick from B? What can I pick from C? And then you use that to ultimately just help develop yourself.
Thank you very much, Yami. I think that just expanded the idea of mentorship. It doesn't have to just be one person, your mentor. You can just learn from everyone around you, your team, your colleagues, and stuff like that. Thank you very much for that. I promise. So for you, for you, the question is, for a PM would say like three, for example, most of the people on this call, when filling the form, they said they have like about 1 to 3 years experience. So for people with about 1 to 3 years, say 4 or 5 years of experience of product management in maybe other sectors, and they are looking to pivot into fintech, how would you advise they navigate it? Because one interesting thing is our faculty is full of fintech product managers. What would be your advice to someone like that?
For people that, for PMs that are not in the fintech industry and want to move into fintech,
Yes.
That's a very interesting one.
Yeah.
That's actually a very interesting one because, because while product management is a very interesting role or job in itself, where your experience is what speaks for you, right? Fintech is also sort of like that, where if you've not done fintech before, it's very difficult to come inside, right? Because again, fintech is very fast paced, so nobody has the time to be training you on things that you don't know, right? So most times, most fintechs do not want to they don't want to take on that risk of bringing in people that don't have the fintech experience. Now, I do think that now, to a good extent, most areas, not all, but a good number of areas have something that have to do with payments. Um, yeah, there's like embedded finance in most sectors now, whether it's HR, payroll, people are doing payroll inside HR. So it's not fintech, but there's payroll inside, right? Logistics, people are there's collection of money within logistics, hospitality, there is payments into within it and all of that. So there are different areas. Almost all sectors have a way to like have something that have to do with moving money, right? Now, what I would advise is you may not be working in that area within the company that you currently are at, but you need to build curiosity, right? And if you can even find ways to work on projects within those areas within the company that you currently are at, that would help you to expand your knowledge and your understanding of how basic payments works and all of that, right? So I think that's the first thing I would advise, right? Almost all sectors now have something to do with payments. Almost all, if we're being honest, right? So just having that curiosity, as we've said earlier, to just figure out, okay, this payment side, even if it's not a product yet within our company, right? How does it work, right? Pick up one or two projects or one or two assignments within that area, and just build your skills within that area first of all. Now, when you now want to apply, you can then add, it's very tiny, but you can add that little experience within your, what they call it, within your CV, or in your CV, that you did this, that had to do this, right? And of course, depending on the role, you have to be able to translate. You have to be able to translate what you've done to what they're looking for, first of all, right? Sometimes, even if I've said that, of course, fintech requires that you must be working in fintech. There are sometimes that I've seen outstanding CVs that has nothing to do with fintech, but the way they've been able to translate what they have done into what we are looking for was like very, very important to us at that point, right? So there are times where sometimes where people drop the ball is being able to translate the impact that they've made, right? So even if you're working in somewhere that has nothing to do with fintech and you don't even have the opportunity to, let's say, figure out the payments, anything that has to do with that has to do with payments within your current company, you should be able to translate the impact of what you've done effectively in your CV, right? You did this and this, and it translated to this impact, and you have to show the numbers because we are very numbers driven. We need to be able to see that, okay, this thing that you did led to so and so percent engagement. This thing that you've done led to so and so thousand new users and all of that. So being able to translate your information or being able to translate your CV based on the impact you have made also really, really helps. So that's in terms of just preparing for getting the job and all of that. Another thing is building relationships, right? You need to be able to you need to build the right relationships, right? To if there are so that when there are opportunities, they're able to reach out to you or they're able to refer you, right? You need to be able to build relationships. The tech space as a whole thrive on relationship. I think all my jobs that I've gotten have to do with somebody referring me or somebody speaking on behalf of you or something like that. And of course, people can speak on behalf of you if you've not been able to prove yourself initially, right? So being able to prove yourself, being able to build relationships, being able to make friends in quotes, as Yami has said, mentorship doesn't just come from having that one person that is a mentor. You have to have friends. You have to be out there, basically. You have to literally be out there and not be, for lack of a better word, don't be that boring person that wants to kill people with work, because the conversation must not even start with work. It can be just normal conversation, and then you find out that only person works in this thing, and then that can come up. So being able to build that really interesting people and build those kind of relationship also helps, so that when there are opportunities, they can easily refer you into that. Then another thing I would say is um being able to spot the opportunities, right? Recently, I was speaking to someone that was working in HR or a payroll company, and the person wanted to transition to fintech. Now, she had opportunity in an insurance firm. Now, when people say insurance, people are not thinking of the finance part of it, right? But at the core of it, insurance is fintech, right? But most people are looking at maybe they want to work in FinCra or in Paystack if it's not those ones who are not doing, right? So being able to spot the opportunities is also very, very important because um, by the time both of us spoke, we dissected the company. This is basically fintech, and she's looking at going into fintech. This is an opportunity to start. So she was open enough to, okay, I want to go into fintech. This may not be what I want, but there's an opportunity there for me to learn everything that has to do with fintech, money, finance, right? And she actually got into that role as a senior person. 1 or 2 years, she can decide to leave and go into like core fintech if that's what she wants to do, right? So you need to also be open-minded, being able to spot the opportunities, being able to outline what does fintech even mean, right? What does embedded finance, what companies, there are companies that outside their logistics, within what they're doing, money is moving. They have payments teams, they have collections team, they have remittance team within that same company. But you can't tell if you don't sit down and dissect, okay, what's these industries, what are they really doing within them, and be able to like research on each of them to decide, okay, even if I want to go into Paystack, I can start from here, then I can then transition into this place, right? So that's another thing I see people lacking a lot. The fact that if it's not the ones that they tag fintech, they don't want any of it. But then almost all the industries have things to do with payments today. So you need to like be open-minded. You need to do your research to figure out what areas have to do with payments in these companies, and does payments make like a huge part of it? In logistics, for example, payments make like almost 50% of that company. So if you are going there, you have to rest assured that you have to build things that have to do with money within it, right? So yes, having that kind of mindset also really helps. Then lastly, you need to also be ready to lose your sleep if you want to go into fintech. It's not for the faint-hearted, right? I see people coming with energy, like you just want to relax. Fintech is not a place to relax. Like it's even now that I've grown that I can sleep. There are times you sleep by 3 a.m., you sleep by 5 a.m. because you're trying to trace all the money back and you have to be there, right? Engineers are trying to deploy something, you have to be awake, you have to do all of that. So you have to, if you're going into that, just know that for the couple of years you're going to be there, you are not going to be chilling. It's not a place to rest. It's not a place to be slow. You can't be slow there, right? Because you actually can't be slow in fintech. I don't know about in other industries, but you can't be slow there because it's very, very fast paced, right? Things are moving very fast. You need to be able to, you need to be open to losing your sleep, right? Open to losing your mind as well when you're going into fintech. So those are the things I would like really highlight, right? Having the right network, making friends within the industry that can speak for you, that can refer you, that can vouch for you. Very, very, very important, right? Being open to checking out sectors that have some sort of embedded finance in it, right? Then being knowing that you will lose sleep, knowing that you lose sleep is very important as well. Then positioning yourself within your CV for the role that you want, right? Being able to translate everything you have done into impact-driven, will I say, outcomes at the end of the day, right? You wrote PRD. You can't just say, oh, I wrote PRD in your CV. Nobody cares about that. What people care about is the product that you wrote that CV for. The product that you wrote that PRD for, what did it do? What was the impact of it? And you need to be able to translate that in your CV. So that's how you better position yourself for the role that you want in fintech. So I hope this has been able to help anyone that
Thank
wants to
you.
come into fintech.
Yes, I think that was solid. Thank you so much, Promise, for that. Yes, Omojo, for your question. So after this question with Omojo, we'll have one final general question, and we'll call it a wrap for this panel discussion. After that, we will then take our testimony from our alumni. Then we'll go into Q&A. So for Omojo, yours is unique to your experience, which is working at Microsoft. What does product management, leading product at that scale, you know, it's a global scale. How does it differ strategically from early stage companies, startups, and scale-ups in Nigeria or locally here?
Okay, thank you for that question. So at Microsoft, I mean, an enterprise company that has billions of users across the world. Product at Microsoft is different, right? For example, some startups have the fail fast, ship it, breaks, you fix. Is a different ballgame when it comes to an enterprise company like Microsoft. There are a lot of specialization or nuances to products. One, even with my years of experience before going into Microsoft, a technology company, I still felt like I was new in product when I joined. I had to relearn because there are a lot of specializations. And the good thing about Microsoft is that it's also like a startup within a startup in how teams are broken. And then you have larger stakeholders or larger number of people that you need to collaborate with, depending on the products that you're working on. And the kind of consideration you make, very heavy on risk. You need to in building products at a large scale like Microsoft, risk is a very big consideration in building products. Risk like the compliance risk, you need to factor accessibility. So for example, I mean, this product is worldwide. Accessibility has to be built in each tool. And the beauty is there are other internal tools that can help push forward the things that you build. Accessibility is whatever you're building has to work for people, maybe people that have color or blindness, people that people that are children, can you activate it to voice? So there are a lot of risk consideration that must be done because then for compliance, different countries have their compliance, requirements. So building products in a scale like Microsoft, you need to it's specialized nuances, it's a larger set of collaborators, it's making risk consideration more than you'd make for like an early stage company or a startup. What other consideration? Yes, the process to production, like to process to deploying a solution has to go through a lot. There's something called a bug bash. A bug bash is that before a product is launched, you need to do a bug bash, meaning what are bugs that we can discover now before it hits the market. And bug bash is so heavy that it involves a lot of teams where they just basically test, and there are even rewards when you find bugs. Why? Because a bug that can expose the company can lead to an exposure in millions of dollars, in billions of dollars. And I mean, the risk consideration as well, because Microsoft, like a company like Microsoft is a gatekeeper, you must make sure that every product you build is in line with like interop principles that are out there. So it's a new learning game. You're very heavy on OKRs. You make a lot of risk consideration, considering the jurisdiction of where this product is going to be deployed. So you'll be working with compliance, legal, and broader set of stakeholders. And it's more like learning, afresh as well. But other things are similar, like the OKR route, where you're very clear on what your outcome is at the end of the day, perhaps reduce churn by 1%, what you want to do about that. Priority is the same, but the difference I would say is the risk consideration, considering the number of people that will be impacted. The time to go live is not same as, I would say, it's not same as early stage startup. So Microsoft then behaves like a startup such that we can deploy monthly, but internally, and then after you've tested for a while, you're now ready to be generally available to the entire market. So I would say those are the nuances or the differences at an enterprise company and a startup company.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very interesting. The one that's piqued my interest was the reward for catching the bugs. That's
Oh,
quite
yes.
interesting. Uh, that's quite interesting. I want to become a quality assurance person almost immediately and go and work for Microsoft. But yeah, that's such a great insight. Thank you so much, Mojo. So one last question, and in the shortest possible way you can answer. One last question for all our panelists is, what is one thing, no degree, no course, nothing you've learned prepared you for as being a product leader? What is that one thing that nothing prepared you for? Like you enter that product leadership position and you're like, damn, nothing prepared me for this. Just one thing.
Okay. So for me, that would be so one thing that no one prepared me for, even if of course it's obvious, but it was more difficult than I thought, is transitioning from being an executionist to an enabler, right?
Mm.
I do love the creative side of product management, right? The product thinking, the design review. I love it. Like I was excellent at it, putting together the solution, putting together the flow of how the customer journey will be. But as a product leader, you're no more executing work. You are now enabling people to execute, right? So it's more of handing off of everything and letting people take over, right? And it's not just handing off and looking at them, let them be doing what they're doing. You have to now train them, right? And training them is not, again, it's not as easy as people make it sound. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work, it's a lot of commitment, it's a lot of passion because you want to see this person grow. So you have to get it right, right? So I think that was one of the major shocker for me of being a product leader, how difficult it was from being an executioner to now being an enabler, right? So yeah, it says shortest possible time,
Thank
right?
you.
So I'm just going to
Thank
leave it
you.
at that.
Yeah, thank you. Yami.
Um, so I think it's somewhere between what Promise said, but for me, so I haven't fully like left the executioning bit. My team is very lean, so but I'm in that position where it's like I need to also now build the side of, handing off certain things and having somebody else like pick it. And sometimes it's like, why? Okay, so
Yeah.
what exactly am I doing now?
Yeah, it feels
Yeah.
like that.
So I don't think anything like, prepared me, yeah, for that.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. Omojo, is it the same for you, or is there a different spin to it?
Honestly, just something to think about. And yeah, I agree with Promise and Yanni. I just kept thinking. I mean, what else can I say? I'll say maybe nothing prepared me for, let me take a deep breath. Um, Nothing prepared me for, let's say, never have I would I have thought that sometimes you still build some things that I really don't think we should be doing this, for example. But um, I mean, there's a clear we should do this. But then sometimes it still
Yeah.
come back to an I told you so moment. But I mean, those can be painful. I don't know if Yami and Promise can relate to that. But yeah, I would say nothing prepared me for for that moment or for those moments. And yeah, it's really yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. I understand perfectly what you said there. Where you just say, no, this is what we are doing. And you're like, nah, I don't really think that's what we should do. This is how we should go. And then 3 months after, you're like, I said it, right? But like, yeah, it's that's quite, and you are still in the leadership position, and you're like, so
Yeah, let
fam,
me see something.
I understand. Thank you very much. Guys, let's say a big thank you to our panelists for everything they've shared with us so far today. In the chat box, let's shout them thanks. Thank you very much for everything you shared. If you could just stay with us a bit, we'll quickly share a couple of things with the house. And but yeah, we come to the end of the panel discussion. Thank you very much, Yami, Omojo, and Promise. Thank you. Thank you very much. So quickly,
Sorry,
as we
so sorry, Promise, before you move ahead, I remember when I was giving the talks on, when I was mentioning sites you could subscribe to, I did mention TechCrunch, Tech Cabal,
Okay. Okay, yeah. I thought I was hearing Omojo, so I think there was a bit of network glitch there. Thank you very much, Yami, Omojo, and Promise. Quickly, just want to share a bit of information with the house. So we have at Treford, all of what we've been talking about on this call today is about, transitioning into senior product roles. And you are what better way to help you? At Trefford, what we do is we deliver trainings, and one of the ways we are helping you do that is also helping you transition into this senior product role by our revamped and newly designed product management accelerator, previously called product management bootcamp. It's still the same thing, but what we have in the curriculum, this is what the curriculum looks like, and we are specifically focusing on helping this time around mid-level product managers go into that senior product role. And I'll have one of our alumni who has been to Trefford programs come up briefly to talk about it. But this is what the curriculum looks like. We will go through the product discovery module where we talk about user-centered research and market research. We'll go through the product planning module where we talk about product vision strategy and product vision and strategy development, measuring product success. Then we'll go to product development and delivery, where we'll go through the agile product development. Since we're in the world of AI, we'll talk about how we can use AI to ship all of those things. We'll talk about navigating a product launch, building your technical fluency, and just like they mentioned earlier, stakeholder management. Stakeholder management has been a theme, and we also talk about product leadership and career development. So if you're interested in this, stick with us. We'll have more information about that. And I'd like to welcome Tolokbe, who is an alumna of Trefford's Product Management Bootcamp, to share one or two about this, our experience in this program. Hi, Tolokbe, how are you doing today?
Hi, Favor. I'm very well, thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Um, so
Good.
Okay, yeah, good afternoon. My experience with Sherford was quite I would say something quite pristine and very daunting. I would say it changed the trajectory of my career in some sense. So for example, when I came to Sherford, I was coming from a startup with zero structure. With Sherford, I was able to understand my role very well, and I was able to understand what structure looks like for me myself as a product manager. And with that, again, I was able to align on what my next steps for my career would look like, because we had a mentorship session that there was mentors that came on and advised us, asked us questions, told us like things that we needed to know. So I'll say Trefford kind of like steered me in the right direction. And yeah, I'm very grateful that I was able to like attend. So thank you. I
Thank you
would say I
very
got
much.
late. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tolokbe. And now Tolokbe is your product manager at Money Points, right?
Yes,
Uh,
correct.
and recently launched a product. Yeah, because I was having a conversation with her
Yeah, my
yesterday, I guess.
team. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
your
team
team.
currently launched Money Book. You would have seen Money Book. We launched on Tuesday, August 12th. And I mean, Money Book is an ERP solution used for inventory management software and all that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Tolokbe. So, yes, if you would like to, take the next step and, be that person who you are building your product management career, uh, towards the senior role, getting the skills needed to help you, get better where you are currently, then Trefor's Product Management Bootcamp, the Product Accelerator is the place for you to be. We welcome you there. So we have a short quiz for you guys to take. But before taking that quiz, we'd like to hear from you guys, where you guys share your feedback with us. Um, we'd like to hear from you, where you share your feedback with us on how the session has been. It's something we always do at the end of every Treford session. How has the session been for you? Before that, there were a couple of questions that came in. I saw those questions, but I think during the course of the conversation, in one way or the other, we answered most of those questions. Okay. So let us hear from you. How did the session go for you? How did you enjoy the session with our panelists? It's something we always do at Trefford. What are your key takeaways from the session, and what do you advise to improve on? Let's hear from you by clicking the link that will be dropped in the chat box. Yes, let's hear from you, or okay. All right, so while we have people sharing their feedback, we are giving away 15% discount to people who are interested in joining our Trefford Products Management Accelerator. So if you're interested in that, stick with us to the very end and take part in the quiz and get to earn that 15% discount. But yeah, before that, let's quickly have your feedback. By the way, the quiz is going to be happening on Slido. So if you're not already on Slido, I think you should engage on Slido now. This is where the quiz is going to happen. It's a short 3-question quiz based on the things that has happened on this call and the discussion that has happened on this call. And the first few people to do well on the quiz will get a 15% discount to join the upcoming product management accelerator program. So yes, if you would like to do that, click on the link and join the Slido poll. Share your feedback first and as well. Yeah. Okay. My colleague is on the call also. Oluwafemi Ainde. Yeah. Hi, Fermi. Colleague from Trefford. Ah, okay.
Hi, Favor. Hi,
Yeah.
everybody. It's
Hi.
been an amazing session. Shout out to Yarmi, shout out to Promise, shout out to Omojo. My notepads are full, basically. You said everything. Um, I'm looking forward to the quiz. I know people will definitely be picking for these courses, but it's important that everybody knows that Trevor is here to help you fill up the skill gaps you're basically lacking. I can see somebody saying she is a customer support person, looking to transition into product management. Also, basically, all this session is about for mid-level folks moving to transition to senior level. Everything Yami, Omojo, and Promise literally said are what our programs covers, and we're looking forward to just fill the skip gaps for you and take your career level to where you need it to be. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay. I need to get my hands dirty. And the ladies in product are too brilliant. Yes, they are very brilliant. And if you want to learn more from them, you can join our Trefford Product Management Accelerator. They are facilitators there, and they will be sharing wonderful insights with you. So we welcome you to join us. Or you can learn so much more for hours with them on the accelerator. Do you get? Okay, stakeholder management is very important in product management, definitely. Have a deep technical understanding of the industry you're working. That is important. Insights on how to become a product manager. It was very insightful, especially the expose on what it takes to be a fintech PM. Oh, that was a gem. That was a gem. That was a gem. Take responsibility, be curious, open to learning, be business minded, commercial minded. Commercial, what's the commercial value of whatever you are building? Not just focus on building the features, but what's the business value of the future you are building as well. Take initiative. I learned the various nuances and skills required to grow in my career beyond the technical know-how and skills. Thank you very much. This is all good. This is all good. Anything we can improve on, bring a technical PM as part of the panelists in the future session. That is very interesting because our next session, which is next Saturday, is moving from product roles to technical product roles, where we'll be bringing 2 technical PMs to talk about how you can move from just a normal product role to a technical product role. So if you like to hear more about technical PMs, you can join that session next week, Saturday. We look forward to seeing you there. Everything was good. I have no suggestion. I absolutely love it. Give us 50, okay, don't worry. More details on individual packages. Individual packages, I'm not sure what you mean by that. But yeah, without any further ado, let's go to the quiz. It's just 3 questions, and if you're already on Slido, you can partake of the quiz. So yes, your name will appear here. I need as many people who are interested. Just 3 questions, 15 seconds. They're on a timer, so as fast as possible. Um, as fast as possible. If you would like to get that 15% discount to join our upcoming program, yeah, you can click on that. Yes, okay, so I can see names joining already. I can see names joining. Still the same Slido link in the chat box. Okay, the link again. All right. All right. Coming right up. The link is coming right up. My God, where are you? Oh, beautiful link, where are you? Okay, this is the link. Yeah, so click the link. Yeah, okay, good. All right. I have 4 people here. Is that all the people that are interested? So I'm going to start in the next 10 seconds. So we're going to get started in the next 10 seconds. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So 15 seconds, guys. So first question. Okay, what is something that is common across all the panelists' product journey? They mentioned something that was very common across all the journey, and I think we emphasized it as well. So, yeah. Okay, in 5. So you have to click fast. It's on a 15 seconds timer. Oh my days. Sorry. Some people did not type. Okay. They started with supporting customers. Yes, in a customer support role. That is very true. So yes, what is the start date of the upcoming product management accelerator? Yes, this is a tricky question. Make your best guess. Let's see how it goes. But at least you get to know the date. Even if you miss it, you get to know the date at the end of the day. Um, okay, let's see. What did you go with? Oh, interesting. September 13th. Most of you got it. That's great. Thank you. Last question, 20 seconds on this one. Which of this is not a non-negotiable skill that was mentioned? Now, which of this is not? Oh my days. Yeah, option 6 is obviously not it. So don't click option 6. I missed that. But one of them was not mentioned on the call as a yeah. Okay. Okay. Now you see that was the tricky part. It is not a non-negotiable skill. Understanding of software architecture was not mentioned. All the others were mentioned. Thank you very much. So now let's see. Okay, so you see the first 5 people here are people that we have Ijoma, we have Adeyemo Kende, we have Anita, Oluwa, Kemisola, and Perpetua. So the first 5 of you, congrats, you get 15% discounts to join our upcoming product management accelerator. Let us know if this is something you'd be interested in. If not, we can pass it to the next person who is on the list that actually got the questions right. So if there's something you'd be interested in, my colleague Fermi is in the chat and we'll give you next steps on how to do that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, guys. Congratulations, Ijoma, Ademo Kende, Anita Andrew, Kemisola, and Perpetua. A couple of questions were shared. So please, Fermi is in the chat box with next step on how to take advantage of the 15% discounts. So the couple of questions that were raised, let me show the Q&A. I think this question was very well addressed, talking about, I might not know the answer to this question, but I would like to hear from you guys as the only PM in a startup. How do I transition into a senior PM role? Wow, the only PM. Wow, wow. I don't know if Yami or Promise. I still see Yami or Promise on the call. I don't know if you are still here and uh might be interested in talking about this as the only
Yeah,
PM. Yeah, please go ahead as the only PM.
I think you're already the senior PM. Alright, so I mean, if we go back to like the conversation we had, right? There was a bit on act like you to get it. Um, so for me, when I was even going to transition from the support team to like the product role, I remember at some point I was wondering, okay, would I ever really get to transition? Would this happen? Would this not happen? And then I got into the role, and what that meant for me was I actually had the opportunity of, you know, testing out like the length and breadth. So I have worked on managing existing products. I have worked on building multiple products from start to end. I have worked on even like our moving into other business verticals, right? So when I joined, we were just purely B2C. but now we have like B2B, we have APIs. I had the luxury of like exploring all of that because I was mainly the only PM on within the organization at the time. So what I would say is, and I think it's something that Promise and Omojo had also mentioned, and it's you just being willing to show that this is something that you can do, right? Is you being able to show that ultimately this is where you're trying to get to. But I would also say have the conversation with your boss, whoever it is that you answer to, right? Whoever is responsible for your performance review or whatnot. Have a conversation with them to understand how do they think about success, or how do they think about a senior PM within that organization. And the reason why that is important is because sometimes we make the mistake of thinking that people, how do I put this? So there's the goals or the perspective of a role that your boss likely has, and there's the perspective that you might also have. Most times when there's a clash where you feel like I'm doing so much but nobody is seeing it, it's probably because there's no alignment in terms of what is actually important. And so you need that clarity. You need to know what is the expectation for someone, or if I'm going to have like growth in this organization, what does that look like for me? What are you thinking, right? How do you measure success? What are the things that if I do would make you think that, oh, this person is on track for XY0, or this person is doing well in this person is doing well in that. So have that conversation so that it also helps if there are areas that you need to double down on, if there are things that you might have been doing that you think were working well for you, but they were actually just shooting you in the foot, right? So you want to make sure you're on the same wavelength. You have like that same perspective. What does success mean to my boss? What does success mean to me? Are we aligned? Are we both going straight, or is it going like this and I'm, off the other trajectory? So yeah, I would say having that conversation just so that you're clear and you're not imagining things. And yeah, and just so that you know what you even need to do in the first place. And then of course apply yourself, like get things done. You, as the only product manager, you literally have the benefit of like getting different experiences. Of course it can be overwhelming at some point because again it's just you. And what I would say to that is also knowing how to leverage your team, right? So if there are certain things that you can play more of like an advisory role, and then you let maybe somebody in engineering drive the project from end to end, so you're not trying to juggle all the balls at the same time, right? So know the things that you should be like the person driving it, and then know the things that you can sort of step back and just provide guidance and have somebody else handle it. So yeah, I hope that helps.
That helps. Thank you very much, Yami. Promise, you want to add to that?
Yes. So just to add to what Yami has said, you also need to, I also think that, because I've also been in that position where I was the only PM there, or where two and they left, and it was only me driving that thing from zero to where we had it, right? You also need to be able to speak up, right? You can't be that, because the truth is that there are some times where you may not even have a direct manager, right? Especially in teams the way you're lean, right? So you may not have a direct manager, you may just have like a CEO and a founder or something like that. So at the core of their thinking, they're not thinking about you. So your growth is not what is on their mind, not because they don't want to think about you, but there's so much things that they're meant to think about. So you are just there. You need to be able to apply yourself and be able to speak up. You can't be that quiet person that are making decisions, because since you are the only PM, it means that when important conversations are coming up, or there are important business decisions that have to do with maybe driving growth, you will probably be on that table, right? You can't just sit back and be holding your ideas or holding your thoughts. You need to speak, share your ideas, be vocal, even if it's silly, right? Because I've seen people say things that are very silly on tables like that. But those are the people that when it's time to get promoted, it's easy for people to identify them because they've been outspoken all along, right? So you can't be that quiet person and expecting your manager to be thinking about you, right? So in the beginning, you need to
be vocal. You need to be sure that you're applying yourself in the right way, as Yami have said, right? You need to ensure that you're aligning with the business goals. Again, because you are the only PM, you even have the opportunities to be able to think directly about the business, because you're making decisions for the product based on the business, right? So you need to be able to ensure that everything you're doing aligns with the business, right? Now, let's even assume that you've spoken to your manager or founder or whoever, and they're still not you've spoken about the alignment, as Yami have said, and maybe after a period of time they still can't see that, or they still not nominated you for promotion or something like that. You then need to go back and come with your numbers and show your impact, that, oh, I've done this, this is what it led to, and this and that and all of that, right? Now there are some good managers that would see that and say, okay, yes, this person is up for promotion. There are some managers that will still maybe want to drag it, especially for companies that maybe you've stayed for a long period of time and you've done a lot. If you believe in your source that much, typically I would advise people to just leave, because again, if you're in companies that maybe you grew from maybe customer support, now you're now mid-level, so you spend like 5 years, 6 years in that company. If you know what you're doing and you're doing it very well, there are still times where your manager or whoever is leading may still not see you as that grown person in that capacity, right? And you've tried your best to ensure that they see it, you've done everything that you need to do, and still they are not coming forth, then you need to bite the bullet and start applying for more senior roles outside, to get yourself where you want to get to. Because again, some managers don't think about all these things, right? Not everybody cares about it. So you need to take career, your your career outcome in your hands. You need to make those decisions. You need to speak up. You need to put yourself in positions
Okay.
where you need to reciprocate, because I mean, senior roles is meant to be like 8 years. Some of us did not spend up to 4 years before we got to where we needed to get to. So I'm not saying you should jump, right? You need to know what you're doing, of course, but being able to speak up, being able to position yourself well, being able to show your value, being able to believe in yourself and make some hard decisions. If it means to leave there and go somewhere else, then so be it. So that's what I would just say as regards that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Promise. Kemisola is asking, she's also taking the route that has been followed by the elders of product in the house. She has started as a customer support person who is being outsourced to Paystack, and she's asking, but she has been taking courses in PM, but she's finding it hard to, get that internship, that first internship or volunteer opportunity. Do you have like any tips? Omojo, Yarmi, Promise, just any tips? Anyone?
Um, hmm. This is also something I like, because you would make friends, find people in the product team that you're cool with. Again, your first positioning should not be that, oh, I want you to teach me product management. That's very boring and stressful, right? So make friends, be cordial with people in the product team, be cordial with maybe one or two of the top engineers there, right? Just start speaking to them, right? And find a way to chip it into the conversation that you want to do this. And of course, as you're doing this part, you have to be taking your courses as well. You have to be preparing yourself so that by the time the opportunity comes, you are already ready to go. So what I would advise first is be cordial, right? Create that relationship first. Um, Start having those normal conversations, just building that relationship, and then start pitching the idea of, oh, you're doing product management courses, you would like to transition one day. Do they have one product that you can look at, or can they put you through and all of that? It's easier for them to be able to sacrifice this time for you because you've built that relationship. What tends to happen is some people just come and say, oh, come and help me to do this thing. If I'm busy with my work, I may not have the time to want to look at your own thing. But if we already have that relationship, it's easy for me to say, okay, or lead a conversation with you about it. So what I would advise first is create that relationship while doing your own course. Start building that relationship, start being cordial with people, and then when the opportunity arises, then you start telling them about, oh, I'm doing this thing. I want to transition into this. Can you show me how you guys do your product thing? Can I join one of you people's meetings? Can I even look at your design? All of that. And before you know, you've pretty much transitioned. So that's one advice that I have given to people, and it worked, where they created friendship with the customer service, created friendship with someone in product. Before you know, they were able to position themselves and they've moved to product management as it is. So that relationship really, really helps. You need to take advantage of that part, right? Building that network and just speaking to people before positioning yourself. Yeah.
Thank you. And the last question we have here is about this person. Unique experience, by the way. 4 years in business strategy and consulting, 2 years in product management, now exploring data science, and wants to learn how to position their diverse experience. Any last tips as we wrap up the call?
So I think my first thought is, what do you want for yourself? That's like the first thing that's maybe coming to my mind. And that's because so you've been in business strategy, you've been in consulting, product management, and now you're moving to data science and AI. And the first thought, to be honest, that came to my mind is why are you like, where do you ultimately want to get to? Because I think that's what would, help you answer that question. So when I was going to apply to Cowrywise, of course, I'd not worked in like a tech, in any fintech or in any tech organization, so to say, at the time. But I had like different skills, different experiences from volunteering in church, from participating in certain activities while serving, right? From my very first job, things like that. And so the question was the role that I'm applying for, and then the place that I eventually see myself evolving to. Now, I knew from the moment I was applying that I ultimately wanted to get into product management, but my initial thought was it was even going to take me years. Like I would have to be in customer experience for some years before the whole transition will happen. But I knew where I was trying to get to. And so when I was putting together my CV, right, I was putting it with that understanding to say, if this is the place I want to get, then I need to start making people see me as someone who could potentially go that line, right? Go in that line or go in that direction. And so that was how I put together my CV. When we were having conversations during the interview as well, it was also in that, in terms of that perspective. And I knew that I did a good job because when we were having, I remember having interviews with the CEO, and then he mentioned that for someone with your skill set, it looks like you would be a good fit for product. I was not applying for product role, but I knew that that was ultimately where I wanted to get to. So when I was putting everything together, I was being very deliberate about highlighting myself in that, from that perspective. So I would say, where do you ultimately want to get to, right? Like, what's the end goal for you? Where are you trying to get to? And there's this saying that treat your career like a product, right? So, if you're building a product, you ultimately have the idea of this is the vision for this product, this is where this product is going to get to. And then you start layering and building gradually towards that. So you need to have that end game in mind. Like, what's the vision? Where am I trying to get to? And then you can start to piece, experiences and skills that you've acquired to show that eventual like perspective. Because you don't want the person that would be hiring you to be the one trying to figure out, so where exactly do I place you? You need to do that job. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Yami, for that. And as we wrap up, Omojo, anything you want to leave the house with as we wrap up today?
Okay. If there's one thing, I'll just say that we're in interesting times with the let's say prevalence of AI. And as PMs, irrespective of the role, we really need to see how to leverage AI for the things that we do. So as PM, sometimes you project manage by day, product manage at night, and all of those. But with AI tools today, we need to see how to leverage it. When we look at how AI tools are, It's very helpful to developers directly on their code, to QA and all of that. It now means that if they're turning to you, if everyone is turning to you for direction, it means you have to now work at a faster pace than you would. So leveraging AI is what I should conclude to. It means that people would say that an image is worth 1,000 words. So what does that mean? Lengthy PRD used to be the thing. We found out that developers don't really read PRDs as much. We found a different way to communicate, make it direct, user stories, and all of those. We're now in interesting time of AI, where the time it takes from idea to prototyping is now shorter than ever before, which means you can experiment with as much ideas as you have, especially if you're working on a user-focused product, a B2C product, B2B respective, but products that requires interfaces or things that you make explainable. So let's leverage AI as much as we can. Will I say my final words for it. So some people are like, oh, AI is here to take my job. Some people are like, oh, I wouldn't use AI. It's really better to jump on the train as a PM, you prompt your AI. The AIs today that can do PRDs if you give it the right prompts. There are prayers today that you can use for AI today that you can use for brainstorming sessions, to uncover blind spots and all of that. So my takeaway is that let's explore AI as much as we can, even for the product things that we do. I think that would be it. And to take more, do have more sense of ownership. Go back, maybe rewatch this session if it's recorded, and take notes for yourself. I like what Yami said. Take your career as your own product and look at where you are and see where do you want to be and how you chart the way, forward. Reach out to people when you have questions or you need clarity. No man is an island, but when you reach out to build your network, Promise did mention that most of our job came from people who knew her and her network. So also build your network. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And with that, we come to the very end of this session. Thank you very much to all our panelists for staying this long. It's initially a 1 hour 30 session, but we